Hello everyone! Hope you're ready for another adventure, because today Wayne continues to read The One and Only Ivan by Katherine Applegate. Always remember, for those following along and wanting to practice your reading, you can hit the CC button in your YouTube link below. I wonder who's going to join us for today's adventure. It's Ruby again! Hello, Ruby. Are you ready for today's adventure? Ruby's ready. I hope you are too. Let's jump in. The One and Only Ivan. The next morning, I watch Mac's car slam to a halt in the parking lot. He leaps out, he stares at the billboard, his jaw is open. He doesn't move for a long time. Mad human. A mad gorilla is loud, but a mad human can be loud too. Especially when he is throwing chairs and turning over tables and breaking the cotton candy machine. Phone call. Mac is kicking a trash can across the food court when the phone rings. He answers it, red face and sweating. What the? He demands. He glares at me. I don't know what you're... He starts to say, but then he stops to listen. Who? Julia who? He asks. Oh sure, George's kid. She's the one who called you. More talking, with the phone in his ear. Matt comes closer to my cage, eyeing me suspiciously. Yeah, he says. He paints, sure. We've been selling his art for quite a while now. There's another long pause. Yeah, absolutely. It was my idea. Mac nods. A smile starts at the corner of his mouth. Photos? No problem. You want to see him in action? Come on down, have a look. We're open 365 days a year. Can't miss it. We're right off of I-95. Mac picks up the overturned trash can. Yeah, I think he'll be adding more pictures. It's a, what do you call it? A work in progress. When the call is done, Mac shakes his head. Impossible, he said. An hour later, a man with a camera comes to take my picture. He isn't from the local newspaper, the one that Julia called. How about you take one of me with the elephant, Mac suggests. He drapes his arm around Ruby's back, grinning as the camera clicks. Perfect, the man says. Perfect, Mac agrees. Oh, Mac. A star again. A photo of my billboard is in the newspaper. Mac tapes the story to my window. Each day, more curious people arrive. They park in front of the billboard, they point and shake their heads, they take photos. Then they come into the mall and buy my paintings. While visitors watch, I dip my hands in fresh bucket of paint. I make pictures for the gift shop and pictures to add to the billboard. Trees with a bird, a newborn elephant with glittering black eyes, a squirrel, a bluebird, a worm. I even paint Bob so he can be on the billboard too. I can tell he likes the picture, although he says he doesn't quite capture his distinct nose. Every morning, Mac and George add my new pictures to the billboard. People slow their cars while they work. Drivers honk and wave. My gift shop pictures now cost $65 with a frame. Interview. This evening, a man and a woman come to interview Mac, and also George and Julia. The man has a large and heavy camera perched on his shoulder. He films me as I make my pictures. He films Ruby in her cage, with her foot roped to the bolt in the floor. Mind if I take a look around, he asks. Mac waves a hand. Be my guest. While Mac and the woman talk, the cameraman walks through the mall. He pans his camera right and left, up and down. When his eyes fall on the claw stick, he stops. He trains his camera on the gleaming blade. Then he moves on. Mac turns on the TV. We are on the early news at 5 o'clock. Bob says, "Don't let it go to my head." There we all are. Mac, Ruby, me, George, and Julia, the billboard, the ring, and the claw stick. Signs on sticks. In the morning, several people gather in the parking lot. They're carrying signs on sticks. The signs have words on them. One has a drawing of a gorilla cradling a baby elephant. I wish I could read. Protesters. More people with signs come today. They want Ruby to be free. Some of them even want Mac to shut down the mall. In the evening, George and Mac talk about them. Mac says they're protesting the wrong guy. He says they're going to ruin everything. He says thanks for nothing, George. Mac stomps off. George, holding his mop, watches him leave. He rubs his eyes. He looks worried. Jad, Julie says, looking up from her homework. You know what my favorite sign was? George asks. Which one? The one that said, elephants are people too. George gives her a tired smile. He goes back to work with his mop, moves across the empty food court like a giant brush, painting a picture no one will ever see. Check marks. A tall man with a clipboard and a pencil comes to visit. He says he's here to inspect the property. He doesn't say much, but he makes many check marks on a paper. He looks at my floor, check. He examines Ruby's hay, check. He eyes our water, check. Mac watches him, scowling. Bob is outside, hiding near the dumpster. He does not want to be a checkmark. Free Ruby. Every day there are more protesters and cameras with bright lights. Sometimes people are carrying signs shout, "Free Ruby, free Ruby." Ivan, Ruby asks, why are those people yelling my name? Are they mad at me? A week later, the inspecting man comes back with a friend, a woman with smart, dark eyes like my mother's. She has a white coat on, and she smells like labia blossoms. Her hair is thick and brown, the color of a rotten branch, teeming with luscious ants. She watches me for a long time. Then she watches Ruby. She talks to the man. They both talk to Mac. The man gives Mac a sheet of paper. Mac covers his face. He goes into the office and slams the door. New box. Something strange is happening. The white-coated woman is back with other humans. They place a big box in the center of the ring. It's Ruby's size. And suddenly, I know why the woman is here. She's here to take Ruby away. Training. The woman leads Ruby to the box. She places an apple inside. Good girl, Ruby, she says kindly. Don't be afraid. Ruby inspects the box with her trunk. The woman makes a clicking sound with a little piece of metal she is holding in her hand. She gives Ruby a piece of a carrot. Each time Ruby touches the box, she gets a click and a treat. Why is she making that clicking noise? I ask Bob. They do that to dogs all the time, Bob says. I can tell he doesn't approve. It's called clicker training. They want Ruby to associate the noise with a treat. When she does something they want, they make that noise. Great job, Ruby, the woman says. You're a quick study. After many clicks and carrots, she takes Ruby back to her cage. Why is that lady giving me carrots when I touch the box? Ruby asks. I think she wants you to go inside, I explain. But there's nothing inside, Ruby says, except an apple. Inside that box, I say, is the way out. Ruby tilts her head. I don't get it. See the picture of the red giraffe on the box? I think the lady is from the zoo. Ruby, I think she's getting ready to take you there. I wait for Ruby to trumpet with joy, but instead, she just stares at the box in silence. I'm not sure you understand. That box might be taking you to a place where there are other elephants, I say. A place with more room, and humans who care about you. But even as I say the words, I remember with a shudder the last box I was in. I don't want a zoo, Ruby says. I want you and Bob and Julia. This is my home. No, Ruby, I say. This is your prison. Poking and prodding. The lady comes again. She brings an animal doctor with an awful smell and a dangerous looking bag. He spends an hour with Ruby, poking and prodding as he looks at her eyes, her feet, her trunk. When he's done with Ruby, he enters my cage. I wish I could hide under not tag like Bob. Instead, I do a nice, loud chest beat. After a moment, the doctor retreats. We're going to need to put this one under, he says. I'm not quite sure what he means, but I strut around my cage feeling victorious anyway. No painting. No one asked me to paint today. No one asked Ruby to perform. There are no shows, no visitors, unless you count the protesters. Max stays in his office all day. More boxes. I wake up from my morning nap. Bob is on my belly, but he isn't asleep. He's watching a ring, where 4 men are placing a large metal box. It's me-sized. What's that, I ask, still blurry from sleep. Bob nuzzles my chin. I believe that box is for you, my friend. I'm not sure what he means. Me? They brought a bunch of boxes while you were sleeping. Looks like to me they're taking the whole lot of you, he says, casually licking his paw. Even Thelma. Taking, I repeat? Taking us where? Well, some zoo probably. Others to an animal shelter where humans will try to find them homes. Bob shakes himself. So, I guess, all good things must come to an end. Huh? His voice is bright, but his eyes are far away and sad. I'm going to miss your stomach, big guy. Bob shuts his eyes. He makes an odd sound in his throat. But what about you, I ask. I can't tell if Bob's just pretending to sleep, but he doesn't answer. I gaze at the huge shadowy box, and I suddenly understand how Ruby feels. I don't want to go into that box. The last time I was in a box, my sister died. Goodbye. When George and Julia come that night, George doesn't get his mop or his broom. He gathers up his tools and belongings while Julia runs to my cage. This is my last night, Ivan, she says, and she presses her palm against the glass. Mac fired my dad. Tears slip down her cheeks. But the zoo lady said maybe they'll have an opening there in a while, cleaning cages and stuff. I walk to the glass that separates us. I put my hand where Julia's is, palm to palm, finger to finger. My hand is bigger, but they're not so much different. I'm going to miss you, Julia says, and Ruby and Bob. But this is a good thing. Really it is. You deserve a different life. I stare into her dark eyes, and I wish I had words for her. Sniffling, she goes to the Ruby's cage. Have a good life, Ruby. Ruby makes a little rumbling sound. She puts her trunk between the bars and touches Julia's shoulder. Where is Bob anyway, Julia asks. She looks around under tables, in my cage, by the trash can. Dad, have you seen Bob? Bob? Nope, George says. Julia brows wrinkles. What's going to happen to him, Dad? What if Max shuts down the whole mall? He says he's going to try and keep it open without the animals, George says. He stuffs his hands into his pockets. I'm worried about Bob too, but he's a survivor. You know what, Dad? Julia gets a gleam in her eyes. Bob should live with us. Mom loves dogs, and he could keep her company and... Jules, I'm not even sure if I have a job yet. I may not even be able to feed you, let alone someone. My dog walking money... Sorry, Jules. Julia nods. I understand. She starts to leave, then runs back to my cage. I almost forgot. This is for you, Ivan. She slips a piece of paper into my cage. It's a drawing of Ruby and me. We're eating yogurt raisins. Ruby is playing with another baby elephant, and I'm holding hands with a lovely gorilla. She had red lips and a flower in her hair. I look, as I always do in Julia's pictures, like an elegant fellow. But something is different about this drawing. In this picture, I'm smiling. I think that is an amazing place to end today's story. What do you think about these new changes? I think it should work out well too. Take care, and I hope to see you again, Ruby. And I hope to see you on the next adventure here with Wayne Reads. Thank you for joining us. We can't wait to see you again. Bye-bye.